An absolute supernatural darkness falls on man sometimes. That hour had fallen now on Savitri. On man sometime, as I told you last time, this is for very, very, very exceptional man, not small, wee little people. See, on man sometime, that hour had fallen now on Savitri. The point is that hour must fall on Savitri. Had fallen now on Savitri. That hour must fall on Savitri because it is a decisive moment in her yogic journey as well as in her work for which she has taken the mortal birth. And therefore, that hour has to arrive, and here that hour is now. Savitri's birth is for a specific purpose, and all the opposition which is there from nature, from the hostile forces, even from the gods, if they come in the way, they had to be met with and removed from the path. That hour has to come. In other words, it is a kind of a litmus test for Savitri that she has done sufficiently strong yogic tapasya to meet that hour. Only when she has prepared herself fully, then she can really meet that hour. Otherwise, it will be a failure and she will have to just go back, you see. Her work undone, her work not attempted even also perhaps, you see. A point she had reached where life must be in vain. A point she had reached. This is the long work she has been doing. She has been doing this work since the beginning of the earth. Now, in the history of earth, in the process of evolution, a point has come when she has to meet something altogether of a different kind. She has been doing silently, quietly her tapasya. Now she has come to this point and she has to face that moment now. If she does not do that, if she does not meet that, life must be in vain. The work for which she had come here, that will be of no avail at all, you see. Either life becomes in vain or she rises to the occasion. She rises to the occasion. How? In her unbound element awake, her will must cancel her body's destiny. Her will, that will must cancel body's destiny. The body's destiny presently is to meet death, be an element of ignorance, be under the grip of death alone, you see. That destiny has to go away, must cancel her body's destiny. Until now, till this moment, she has been meeting that body's destiny. But now a point has reached when she has to go beyond that point and meet her body. When it is possible? When in her unborn element she is awake. When the elements which are there in her, when that is awake, when that has come forward, when it is operational, when it is functional now fully, a point she had reached. She has been coming here. In reverse, slowly, 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 those unborn element, that unborn element was getting awake. And now she is ready to meet a particular moment. Her will must can the will, her sankalpa, her determination to do things what has to be done in life, that for that she has to come forward and rise here. Now, although this is an alternative, either you don't meet that moment, life is a vain thing, or you conquer body's destiny by your willpower. Although it is stated as an alternative, the implication here is no, the first alternative is out of the question. Life must be in vain is not admissible for Savitri. It is not admissible for our inward. She has to strengthen her will to cancel body's destiny. She has to strengthen her will to cancel her body's destiny. So that is the way of saying that look, Savitri is now getting ready to meet that particular eventuality. Although the poet is stating as a kind of an alternative, it is not really an alternative at all. You have to get ready now to cancel the destiny of your body, you see. And when that is, yes.
So it means this. So if she doesn't cancel her body destiny, her life is in vain. If she doesn't cancel her body,
It's a failure. The whole thing is dissolved. If she does, the whole thing is dissolved then. Pralaya, what I want to call it.
Not only her destiny, the whole earth.
If she is not able to cancel her body's destiny, the purpose of her taking the mortal birth, is not getting fulfilled. And the only way out is then dissolve this creation and start again. You see? I mean, that is the graver kind of an alternative. It's a graver kind of an alternative. Savitri is not going to do that. In verse here, the poet is indirectly telling you, look, she is now there to meet that destiny, that moment, you see. Her unborn element, they are there in her already. They have to come forward. They are there within her. She has come with them already. They were not active. They were not participating in the whole process so far. But now a moment has come. A point she has reached. Then those things must happen. Must start coming out, you see. In other words, earlier, prior to this hour had fallen now on Savitri. Prior to that hour, even if had the element been awake, it would not have been effective. It would not have, because a certain kind of a long preparation is required to meet the challenge of body's destiny. And she was quietly doing that thing and now see. So this phrase is very important. A point she had reached. It's a very significant phrase, you see. Although it looks so trivial, so simple, the entire course of evolutionary history, Savitri is taking birth, saying in the beginning of the earth, whenever and wherever there was a possibility or a manifestation of the ray of the Supreme, I was present. What was she doing? She is reaching that point. Coming forward that thing. It was not visible, but the quiet work was going on. Now Savitri's work has really come forward, as we saw last time, and man lifted the burden of his fate, and Savitri too awoke among this tribe. Awoke here, those elements must awake. You see, Savitri too must awake. You see, awake. Now that thing we have seen already. That moment is the transition from the Pranamaya to Manomaya Purusha, the time of Ramavatar, when the new tribe, human tribe, he says, when Savitri has awoken in them, means the transition, the moment when Savitri awakes is the transition from Pranamaya to the Manomaya Purusha, from the vital being to the mental being. She comes into activity, her elements are now getting awakened, and she is now ready to face the body's challenge, you see. In verse now, after that awakening, she is seeing body's destiny what? Housing the divine himself in the physical, in the material. That is the body's destiny, you see. In other words, that is possible only when now beyond the mental being, a higher Gnostic being comes on the scene. So Savitri is now kind of getting ready, preparing herself for that thing to happen, you see. Her will must cancel her body's destiny. Now, there is a long preface here to explain this line. Her will must cancel her body's destiny. Half a dozen sentences kind of elaborate on this particular line. But only the unborn spirit's timeless power can lift the yoke imposed by birth in time. Unborn spirits, the spirit who is always there, who has not really taken birth, who is birthless. Swayambhu, the word in the Sanskrit language, Swayambhu, who is self-born of his own, you see, in essence, Swayambhu. Unborn element, spirit's timeless power, of course, eternal power, can lift the yoke imposed by birth. So only when the power of that unborn spirit enters into play, into the birth of time, then all that thing can happen. In other words, Savitri has now housed in her soul the spirit's timeless power. Savitri has to house in her soul now that spirit's timeless power, you see. Then only she can be done. Her will must cancel when she houses timeless power of the spirit in her. Can lift the yoke imposed by birth in time. Imposed by birth in time, Savitri has taken the mortal birth. She is compelled to take the mortal birth. She is compelled to bring the timeless into time, and for that she has to take birth in time. She has to take birth. In fact, that is what we have seen earlier also. The fourth book, the Ashwapati received the boon from the Divine Mother. One shall descend, etc., etc. And then part 1 of Savitri is over, and then from that point onward, part 2 and part 3 begin. Part 2 begins. Part 2 begins with the birth of Savitri. Now, birth of Savitri, the poet is describing first the transition, the seasons, 6 seasons. He is describing the 6 seasons. And in other words, the timeless is now stepping into the seasons of time. The timeless is entering into seasons of time. You see, he's taking the mortal birth. That thing. And then her work begins, etc., etc. So she has taken the birth in time. She has already come into the seasons of time. You see that way. She can live, but she has to carry the yoke of time in her. Unless you participate in the world's process, unless you participate, as the mother says, we have seen that passage, unless she participates in the process of the world, she cannot remove the agony of this creation, the darkness, the ignorance, cannot remove, unless she participates. She has to physically participate, and she has to take a mortal birth to participate, and it is that yoke which is now on her. Now, although can lift the yoke imposed by birth in time, actually here in the context of spirit's power, it is can lift the yoke imposed by birth in time. Imposed by whom? The yoke is imposed by whom? You see? Yeah, well, I mean, she has accepted that mortal birth. So it is not that it is imposed on her. The circumstance in which she has taken that birth, it is that circumstance she has to meet. And that yoke is in that sense. She is accepting your conditions. It is not that that condition is imposing itself on her. You follow the distinction? No, you're not able to get.
No, because I didn't ask this question.
Pardon me?
For me, it was clear that the birth, once you are born here, this is a yoke.
Yeah, no, but yoke.
Basically, a yoke imposed on you when we are in birth.
When you are taking birth, it means you are accepting it.
You are not.
I don't know if I accept it.
You are accepting it. You are accepting it for a greater joy or whatever it is, you see, for a greater satisfaction. Basically, yoke is something, therefore, it is that which is kind of automatically imposed on you. You are accepting this, you are accepting those conditions of birth. You see. So, in other words, the yoke of inconscience is automatically put on you the moment you step into inconscience. That is what it is. It is not that it is imposed on by yourself. It is there. You have to accept it as so. Only the self that builds this figure of self, the supreme self, it is that who has built this small self, the individual. He is talking now from the universal, from the transcendent to the individual. S capital to S lowercase. Can raise a fixed interminable line when that supreme has only the self that builds this figure of self can raise a fixed interminable line that join. What is the yoke? The yoke of the inconscient karma, the inconscient activity, the inconscient working. That is the yoke which has been now imposed upon you because you have accepted that condition of ignorance, of death, of mortality. You have accepted that, and therefore it is that yoke. But that can go away only when the big self can work itself in the small self. In other words, for that thing to happen, the small self has to do qualifying sadhana to receive what the big self wants to build in you. It does not come freely. Can raise a fixed interminable line that joins these changing names, these numberless lives. That is what we are doing. Birth after birth, we have been coming here now. You see, Punarjanma. That is what happens constantly in our case. You see, these changing names. So today you are Lily, tomorrow I don't know what you will be or what you were yesterday. You see, like that it goes on. That join the changing name, the numberless lives, numberless lives. You see, it is not for the first time it's happening. You see, it's not for the first time it's happening. Actually, the Indian tradition, in a kind of a uh, cheap manner, says that we have been passing through 84,000 cycles of birth to arrive at this point. 86,000, 84,000 births to arrive at this point, you see. So this is numbers life. See, right from the leaf, right from the insect, right from the we have come to this point, you see. See. Life, this.
Typing mistake. No, can raise, not ras.
No, it is correct.
Huh?
Raise or ras. What is this word?
Numbers life.
Can ras. Two lines up.
Can rise?
Raise is fixed at the interminable line of birth and death.
I missing?
No. It's another word.
Ras?
No,
What is raise?
Raise. Destroy.
Erase, you know, it comes from the English word erase.
Oh, it's erase. Oh,
Yeah,
the
it's
E
not
is missing.
Raise means remove. Raise, remove. Eraser. Eraser, raise means remove. Raise the fixed interminable line. Raise means remove. Rub off. These new oblivious personalities and keep still lurking in our conscious eye. It is that self which is still working in our conscious eye. The trail of old forgotten thoughts and deeds disown the legacy of our buried self, the burdensome heirship to our vanished form, accepted blindly by the body and soul. Accepted blindly by the body and soul, that is the burdensome heirship we are already having. Our past karmas are always there with us, and we have to meet them, we have to overcome them, we have to dissolve them. Actually, those who are sort of developed, souls who are developed, if they meet a proper guru, proper teacher, proper siddha, realized soul, if he offers himself to him, it is that guru, he takes away all your past karmas. He removes away all the past karmas, you see, completely, you see, if you offer them, you see. He removes away all your past karmas. So that is what happens. If you really made a proper guru, then your past karmas are dissolved by him. He's taken care of them by him completely. The only responsibility then which lies on us is not to create new karmas. Yeah. Well, here dissolve. You should not create new karmas now. You have to be still very conscious, very particular about some of these things. A kind of a discipline is required. Some sort of a prescription is there. You have to follow that. Don't don't commit new karmas. And for the guru, it becomes more difficult to remove those new karmas which you will perhaps produce than removing the past karmas. You see, past karma is removed, but then you should not create new. You see, all you see, we are full of ignorance. Yeah, we are like that. You see. We are like that. We should not. So we have to be really, in other words, what he says is basically your past is removed. Try to establish your contact directly with your psychic being and go by the psychic being. The psychic being will take care of everything and you are safe on the path then. You are then on the sunlit path from that point onward. Otherwise, you keep on fumbling, etc., etc., it goes on like that, you see. That is required. So, accept it blindly by the body and soul. Now, whole this thing is, well, in verse, this interminable line, oblivious personalities, etc., etc., this is what the soul has been developing from birth to birth, birth to birth. And you have arrived at a point now when a new transition can take place, and the responsibility is now on you that you don't create fresh obstacles, do not commit sins, so to say. Sins not in the Christian sense, but something which is wrong, which is something not proper for your spiritual growth, you see, in that sense, you see. Accepted blindly by the body and soul, which means that the soul is actually is a kind of an alchemic agent which keeps on purifying yourself from birth to birth. It keeps on purifying. He is an alchemic agent. Nature, you are made of nature and prakriti and soul. Nature is there, nature born of inconscient, you have taken birth in inconscient, so all the traces of inconscience are there, and it is the soul which kind of purifies constantly all that is belonging to the inconscience. In fact, in the Vedic sense, it is the divine Agni which is there within us, small little element which is there within us, who purifies us. Purifies means removes away all the dross which has come up from the inconscience. It has taken birth, so it has to meet that kind of a thing. So it keeps on constantly removing that thing. And when it is properly purified, then you take a new birth. Your second birth occurs at that point. You become Dvija, reborn at that point when it happens, where you become a real Dvija, reborn at that point of time, you see. Now, that is what the soul is doing. That is what the purpose of the soul is. In other words, nature by itself, nature by herself, cannot transcend herself, cannot purify herself, cannot become supernature. The lower Prakriti cannot become higher Prakriti by herself. For that thing to happen, what is required is the agency of the soul. It is the soul which does that kind of a thing. So soul is functional in that sense, you see. Accepted blindly by the body and soul. Soul accepts that thing, knows it fully well, you see. And therefore, an episode in an interminable tale. See, we have been going on through ages and ages. See, 84,000 lives, you see, interminable tale. Its beginning, we don't know where we have begun, how it has begun, and where we are going to go, see. Its motive and point concealed. A once living story has prepared and made our present fate. See, we are not tabula, we are not a blank slate, tabula rasa. We are not a blank slate, you see. The slate, something is already written here. We have brought something from our past lives, and it is that which is taking us forward, you see. Child of past energies, our past karmas, past punyas, all those things are there, past good virtues, they are there with us, and they are taking us forward, you see. So it is perhaps because of our past virtues, past punyas, that we are here, and we are having a Savitri class also. You see. the fixity or the cosmic sequences. Well, nature's law has to work. Nature has to do her things in a very mechanical way, in her own way. She has brought out something wonderful thing. She has done those things, already miracle. See, from nothing, from matter, life has sprung up. From life, mental being has come up. So these are not small things at all, you see. Fastened with hidden, inevitable link, hidden, inevitable link. We don't know those links, those connections which she has done. She must disrupt, dislodge by her soul. Now, this she here stands for Savitri, because for Savitri that hour has come. She must disrupt, dislodge by her soul's force. Her past a block on the immortal's road. Make it raise the ground again, raise the ground, remove, demolish, raise ground, and shape anew her feet, anew. Well, she has been doing these things, but now a moment has come when fail all nature's means. Either life must be in vain or a superior life be built, you see, her fate. She has to build up a new fate. In other words, it only means that there is the inevitability of the death of Satyavan. Her fate. It is not actually her fate, it is Satyavan's fate. The fate of the soul of truth trapped in death. Well, her fate. For now, a colloquy of the original gods.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Before we go. So it means it's only these previous lives who are the blockage of our immortality?
Yes. We have been carrying on that thing. You see, very luckily, very fortunately, we have got a soul. And therefore, we are safe. We are making progress. Maybe very slow or whatever it be. But surely there is a progress, you see, because of the soul. In fact, as we have seen earlier in Book 6, Canto 2, the soul felt from the transcendent, your soul felt something curious, shadow down below. It felt the curiosity of the shadow and plunged into it. It was his choice by which he had come here. Our soul has come here for a certain purpose. It feels intolerable joy even in this little place here, in this ignorant place here, in the place of death also he feels intimate. He experienced that thing. He has come here. So we have come here for that purpose. So we should not grumble, we should not cry, we should not weep. Yes, we are doing our thing and we are happy that we have come up to this point, you see. A colloquy of the original gods, meeting upon the borders of the unknown. This is a very, very, very deep thing. Colloquy of the original gods. Who are these original gods? What is their colloquy? What are they doing here? Her soul debate with embodied nothingness. The colloquy is in the context of her soul's debate with nothingness. Savitri's soul debating with nothingness. That is linked up with the colloquy of the original gods. The original gods are concerned with the void, with the nothingness, with the inconscient things which are here of falsehood, evil, suffering, death, ignorance. They are concerned with that kind of a thing, you see. Original gods are concerned. And they are working in their own way. Now it is that thing now Savitri is going to meet, is going to death. In other words, what the gods are doing, striving, struggling in the transcendent, Savitri has to do now here in the mortal world by taking the mortal birth, you see. Meeting upon the borders of the unknown, her soul's debate with embodied nothing. Her soul's debate with embodied nothingness. Embodied nothingness. That phrase, embodied nothingness, that phrase is explicitly mentioned in the context of death standing in front of Savitri. Death himself tells that I have taken a form. I am a formless thing. I am void. I have taken a form to meet you. It is that void, that nothingness, which has taken that form and meeting her here, you see. But that embodiedness, see, in word, this phrase is embodied nothingness. You can get this fuller understanding when you meet Savitri's debate with death in book 10. He says, embodied nothing, shadow. He has taken a form. He is a formless thing. To meet you, I have taken a form, and therefore I am in front of you, you see. Void, you see. Embodied. I will give the reference next time properly. We stop spending time. Her soul debate with embodied nothing must be wrestled on a dangerous dim background, on a dangerous dim background, on a dangerous dim background. What a line, what a phrase, you see. Yes, dangerous. Narad has said, she will either fall or she will rise. Peril, you see. Dangerous, dim background, obviously gloomy, dark background. Her being must confront its formless cause. Why is there? It has no form. But is there that nothingness, the shadow being, death is there. Again, the universe way is single cell. Is her soul. A colloquy with the original God, beating upon the borders of their known. Her soul debate with embodied nothingness. Yama. Well, I mean, Shivananda does not use the word Yama. He says that. Embodied nothingness is actually, he says shadow, he says, he does not say Yama. You see, Yama is a little, little dubious kind of a thing. In the sense that in the traditional Yama of the Puranas and the Indian, we have got both the aspects put together. He is the ruler of the law, upholder the law. He is Yamaraj, Pitamaha. He is described like that. He is the son of the sun god himself, Vaivasvata. Vaivasvata. And in the Vedas, in the Rig Veda, Yama is sitting under a tree called Palasha tree. He is sitting under Palasha tree and drinking nectar of immortality. Yes, Supalasha, drinking nectar of immortality. There is a very beautiful description in the Rig Veda about that tree. Supalasha tree, he is sitting there and having a drink under the tree. Now, Palash is a wonderful tree. Uh, the flame of the forest. You know what you get in the summer, you get no here, flame of the forest. The mother significance of that Palasha is the beginning of the supramental manifestation. The beginning of the supramental manifestation, that is Supalasha tree. In other words, Yama is sitting under the Palasha tree, which means that it is the beginning of the supramental manifestation. It is he who is working for that. So that is the glorious part of Yama. But at the same time, there is the dark part of Yama. What Shivandu is mentioning here in Savitri is bringing out the full force of the inconscient figure which is standing in front of you as a hostile, as an adverse figure, completely, you see, with full adversity, with the intention, he is opposing the divine. He is an adversary of the divine. He is extremely hostile to the divine because by that process he wants to get himself dissolved into the divine. He wants to get dissolved into the divine, you see, as Rama did, as Ravana did. Ravana became the enemy of Rama in order to dissolve himself into him. Same way, this embodied nothingness, he will remove its embodiment completely. He will become now the bright nothingness. It will be his laya, dissolution. He will not be there anymore at all. Her soul debate with embodied nothingness. Kaloki or the original gods. Now, this is a long essay running into some 60, 70 A4 sheets of papers, but but we will not go through all that thing. We'll see some of these things quickly here. The fated day of Satyavan's death has arrived, and even as Savitri is ready well early in the morning, she prepares herself to confront universal time and fate, confront, to challenge the destined moment and destiny. If the required price has to be paid to the god of pain, yes, she is going to do it by bearing upon herself the entire affliction associated with it. In this great undertaking of hers, she is helped by the eternal hand. She makes a small daily act a sacrifice to the presiding deity. She recollects the past and knows that it does carry the unknown future in her breast, a future that is full of hopes and longings and expectations, and therefore it is worthwhile putting in the needed effort. The mother says, this is the way in which the poem begins. That is what we have got now here. Canto 1 and 2. This is the way the poem begins. We will know the story of her life because she remembers it. Savitri remembers it, and therefore we will know the story of her life. At the celestial moment of her existence, she remembers all her past life, and then it will be told to us. That is exactly what we have got. She remembers, means first two cantos, the symbol dawn and the issue are her remembrance. She is waking up, she is remembering all the things. In words, is already written up there in the transcendent. The whole story of Savitri, the legend of Savitri, the myth of Savitri is already written there in the transcendent. Savitri wakes up, she remembers the story. And that is what they got here. In other words, the first two cantos are not a kind of a flashback of the epic in the literary sense. They really mark the beginning of beginnings. The beginning is the transcendent. The story is already written here. Savitri has taken the birth here. Now she remembers that story which she has to enact now here. You see, she has to enact it. The celestial moment of her existence. She remembers all her past life, and then it will be told to us. Everything in Savitri is gathering around that fated day, the day of Satyavan's death. That indeed is the most significant event in her life, in the journey of her soul, the mission, the task she has come to do, and of course accomplish. That is the central issue also of this meaningful creation. It is not only the Savitri story, it is the issue of creation itself, or the mortal world itself. Nothing else seems to matter. Memory of her past, or the past wishes and needs and dreams and optimizes her life's expectations, her achievement, everything simple or small or great flies back to her. She remembers how her precious joy was always accompanied by doom. The year is about to come to a close, and the day on which Satyavan is to die has dawned. It is the awful law that when everything seems lost, there is no helping hand in sight. Every tried means fails to provide succor and relief. For whom? For one who is inwardly conscious is drawn more and more towards God. Yes, the moment is crucial, but if you are conscious, you are drawn more and more close to God. The surface soul, the outward person, devoid of the active divine element, retreats, and the inner being comes forward to take charge of things and events. Such hour had fallen now on Savitri. She is equipped, She is organized to face the inevitable. The mother elaborates, for those who have come upon earth fully conscious of their entire being and conscious of their origin, conscious of their origin, how many conscious of their origin, there is at first a period when this consciousness gets veiled by the physical life and the body consciousness. This consciousness gets veiled. That is exactly what happened in the case of Shabindu. When he, as a boy, when he was to go to London, that veil was put on him completely. He did not know in England who he was, completely put off with it. And whatever was required to acquire there, that he acquired. But I don't know whether in the case of the mother also there was any moment like that. It doesn't seem to be there in the life of the mother, you see. It withdraws deep within and waits for the hour when the hour circumstances will make it necessary, etc. etc. Even those who have come fully conscious because they are compelled to take birth in the body of a child, their consciousness withdraws for many years, more or less, and has not the full capacity that it had in the other world. But some other circumstances, some event tears off the veil, and the inner consciousness takes birth, its place, and its activity. Actually, in the case of the mother, she said that I was conscious even from my childhood. She says that even from her childhood, she was conscious of that thing. It's only when the outer crust of the ordinary life is violently broken by some unexpected and tragic event that the inner consciousness has the opportunity of taking the place of the outward movement. Ordinary life violently broken by some unexpected and tragic event. That event was Shabindu going to jail for 1 year. He was sort of attached for the freedom of the country and all that, but Krishna tells him later on, it is not for that purpose that I have brought you here. I have brought you here for a different purpose altogether. And he says, I did not believe in him first. And therefore, that unexpected moment had come into life, you see. That is the justification of these dramatic events, etc. etc. Well, let's see in the case of Christ what happens. Do you remember the Garden of Gethsemane? It was a night, a dark and cold night. Christ was alone in that night. His death, seemingly unnecessary, was coming. It was not his death, if we may say so, as he was dying our death. He was dying our death. For there was nothing in him worth dying or that might compel him to die. But because he had taken the burden of humanity, he was dying for us. He had no sin, he had no unrighteousness, and the dark world had nothing of his own in him. He was waiting for our death. He was waiting for our death. That is the important thing. In other words, when the incarnation occurs, it takes upon itself the entire burden of the mortality. He is immortal, but it takes upon him the burden of immortality in order to pull out of the eternal death. Oh, we do not continue to die on earth, but it is no longer, well, he says, he shared with us all the depth of peoples being forsaken by God as he gave that terrifying cry, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? That is what Christ says, you see. In fact, that is what we have got in Savitri also, that line. Yes, all is God, you see, that is the answer. He descended to hell, much like any dying person, gave himself up for captivity, but tore apart. Christ was dying waiting for death for the sake of others. Christ was fighting the death horror. Let this cup pass from me. Christ was looking for human help, a glance, a touch of a hand. It was 3 times that he came up to 3 disciples who had chosen, who had asked, watch with me. They were there previous night, watch with me. And it was 3 times that he found them sleeping. Nobody gave him a hand. Nobody said a word to him. Nobody looked at him with human eyes. There is eternal life after death. But the darkness was silent and nobody told that. The darkness was silent, nobody told that. They were there, they were aware of it. See. It was a similar night when Peter, the most devoted of the disciples, went after Christ when he was taken to unjust court. Together with John, they went as far as the high priest's palace. They were let in not as Christ's disciples. The gospel uses terrifying word. They were let in because John was known there and he did not speak a word. They were welcome while Christ, their master and God, was being dragged there to be condemned to death, to be spat on, beaten, humiliated, slandered, and given away for crucifixion. They entered, and there was no danger for them. He said, these are the cosmic laws we have to meet here. Now, they fixed colloquy of the original gods. It's a long colloquy. I said 60, 70 pages, but we'll skip some of those things. You see. Again, universe way is single. On the bare peak where self is alone in the topmost, with naught. Self is alone with naught. The Supreme Himself is meeting His void. The Supreme Himself meeting His own void, not. And life has no sense, and love no place to stand. She must plead her case upon extinction's words, to die or to live or conquer. See, that is what Narad says. To live or to conquer. See. Extinction's words, in the world's death cave, uphold life's helpless claim, and vindicate her right to be and love. Vindicate her right. Yes, I come here in the mortal world to be. For what? To love. To love. Because this is God's creation. It is His creation. It is the creation of my Master, of my Lord. And I had to love it. I love it. See. Altered must be nature's harsh economy. Well, that is the karmic law. That is the law of suffering, law of ignorance, of death. That has to be altered completely. Death is a habit. We keep on dying because it is a habit with us to die. Our habit is to die, but habits can be changed. And we have to be aware that the habits can be changed. We have to prepare ourselves to change the habit. Then only there are the brighter prospects for us. Nature's harsh economy. Acquittance she must win from her past bond. Yes, that is important. Past bond must be first removed away. It must be dissolved, must be cleared. Past bond, all the past karmas of the inconscient creation, they have to go away completely. An old account of suffering, exhaust, strike out from time the soul's long compound that keeps on adding. You see, we have taken some loan and the debt keeps on building upon that, you see. The soul has entered into inconscience and the inconscience is infinite. It keeps on playing on the soul constantly, you see. Compound debt. And the heavy servitude of the karmic God, the slow revenge of unforgiving law, slow revenge of unforgiving law. Law, here stands for Yama, death. Unfair. He is not going to give up, you see. And the deep need of universal pain. Yes, that is required. Without pain, you will not stir up, you will not get up, you will not awaken to yourself, to your reality. And hard sacrifice and tragic consequence. Out of a timeless barrier she must break. Penetrate with the thinking depths, the voice monstrous her. You see, with the thinking depths. She is a Manomaya Purusha, belonging to that category now. With the full power of the mental being, she must push herself into the monstrous hush of the void. Means that hush, that void, mental Purusha cannot understand. It is a hush, it is silent. Mental being is incapable of understanding that monstrosity of the void itself completely. But she must do that thing now with a higher power. Look into the lonely eyes of immortal death. See, he is now making very clear, distinct. Yama, law, monstrous hush, they are the same words basically. Look into the lonely eyes of immortal death. She has to look into the eyes of Yama, face to face. She has to meet him. She has to meet him. The mother says, when somebody comes and meets me for blessings, she says that what she does is she will look into your eyes. That is all she will do. She will look into your eyes. She says that it is through that I can touch your soul. By looking into your eyes, she can meet your soul directly, you see. She will look into the eyes. Now here, look into the lonely eyes of immortal death. Savitri has to look into the eyes of death, immortal death, to look into his soul, what that real soul is, what that soul is for here, what purpose it is going to serve. She has to know and understand that thing completely, you see. So she is looking, she must look into the eyes of death. In fact, that is exactly the kind of description we have got later on when she is debating with Yama. She is looking into his eyes. She is penetrating into himself and seeing his soul, something that is deep within her, within him. And with a new spirit, measure the infinite night. The darkness of the infinite himself has become dark. That is the soul of the immortal she has to see completely. See. And with a new spirit, bare spirit, completely free of inconscience, she must look into the infinite night. The great and dullest moment now was close. A moment she has reached. See, this is the whole description now. A moment she has reached. For what? What moment she has reached? To look into the eyes of death. She is now going to see death. A point she has reached. That is what we started with. A point she has reached. For what? To look into the eyes of the immortal death. That moment is come here to see. So this is the description of the powers of the self, of the unbound self, which she has to house in her soul, and then meet death, look into the eyes of immortal death, after housing the powers of the immortal in herself. See. So that is the preparation she has to do. With that preparation, then what happens? A mail battalion marching to its doom. The last long days went by with heavy tramp. Long, but too soon to pass, too near the end. That hour has now fallen on Savitri. The year is coming, 12 swift months. She says, this goddess. We have seen that line, the 365th line of Savitri. That mail battalion, all the days are now like a battalion passing over the year. 365 days are passing quickly. Marching into its doom. The past has to go away, all those 65 days has to go away. The last long days went by with heavy tramp. Yes, last days there, Savitri has to weigh the grief of the entire world in her soul and made that day. See, long battalion marching to this battalion, of course, is the march of days, of those 365 days when Savitri is going to meet death, you see. We have seen that line earlier. 3.5. 12 passionate months laid in a day of fate. 12 passionate months, exactly 365 lines, you see. Made in a passionate day, that is the long, that march of the battalion. See, it's coming to that end, you see here. So the whole story, the whole description, the whole poem is so well knit logically. Each one is connected everywhere, you see. A male battalion marching to its doom. Yes, marching to its doom because the past has to go away. All those 365 days have to disappear. They are no business to be there now, you see. The last long days went by with heavy tramp, long but too soon to pass, too near the end. The day of Satyavan death is there now, tomorrow. So it's very close by now, you see. Alone amid the many faces loved, aware among unknowing happy hum, her armored spirit kept march upon the hours, listening for a forcing tremendous step in the close beauty of the inhuman wise. Alone amid the many faces loved. Now this is now a kind of a local picture on here. You can imagine that Savitri is in the hermitage and there are other cottages, other rishis are there, the whole conclave is there, everybody is there. Amid the many faces loved, they love her Savitri, they worship her, they see something very remarkable in her. Although the rishis are great tapaswins, they see something great in her. Aware among unknowing happy hands, her armored spirit kept watch upon the hour. But they are not aware what Savitri is keeping in her soul. They are not yet aware of that thing. Her armored spirit kept watch upon the hour. Yes, the hour is coming. Upon the hour, Narad has told, this day returning, Satyavan must die. This day returning. So, the time, the event, everything is complete. This happened. Narad is coming to Ashwapati's palace. He is having a session with the royal family, and in the course of that session, he discloses about the death of Satyavan, and he says, 12 swift-winged months are given to him and her. This day returning, Satyavan must die. This day returning. So that is the mark now. The day on which Savitri, Narad has made that announcement, it is from that day, 365 days, Satyavan must die. And also not only the day, the moment. He is telling this to Savitri and others around noon on that particular day. He comes in the morning, we are seeing there is a long session and he makes an announcement, and at noon hour he discloses this fact. So the hour, the moment, the kshana, dinner, in fact Vyasa Savitri describes everything. The samvatsara, kshana, everything is completely fixed in that thing about the death of things. So here, upon the hour, Savitri is listening now. Yes, it is going to happen today, 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 you see. And therefore she is counting and she engages herself with the yoga accordingly. Listening for a forcing tremendous moment, tremendous step in the close beauty of the inhuman way. Listening for a forcing tremendous step. Foreseen by whom? Foreseen by Narad. Savitri is made known of it, is made aware of it. Savitri is not foreseeing it. It is Narad who has foreseen it. And he is making listening for a foreseen tremendous step. What a beautiful line. Listening, that is one foot, for a second foot, foreseen, third foot, tremendous, tremendous, third foot, a step, fourth foot is 5 feet, you see. So listening, that is a dactyl, long, short, short. For a pirik, if foreseen, a for a pirik, foreseen, I am tremendous. I am. A step again, and I am. Listening for a force in tremendous step. See what a powerful line metrically is when you see the vowelation is so beautiful here. In fact, something happens like that. Alone amid many faces, loving, listening for a force in tremendous step. Suddenly the music is different in that line. Suddenly the music is different in that line, you see. In the close beauty of the inhuman voice. Inhuman voice, the death is going to take place in the forest where there is nobody around, not in the group of hermitages there, but when they are absolutely alone in the depth of the forest. It is in the close beauty, but it is a beauty also because nature is very rich there, very beautiful, very powerful there. At the same time, it is going to be a very beautiful moment. It is a destined place for a beautiful thing to happen. And that is what it is beautiful all. Inhuman. It has to be inhuman. No mental trace at all. Completely out, you see. No interference of human combatant, a combatant, and silent, deathfully combatant. Savitri is a fighter, Savitri is a wrestler. Where? In silent, deathfully, list akhada, where you do wrestling ground. Akhada, list is akhada. Where you do wrestling pit. You see, list is a wrestling pit, you see.
That is arena.
Huh?
Arena.
Yeah, arena, you can, yeah, well, but here list is a little smaller, it's a wrestling, it's a combatant, no? You see. Arena, you can say that. Akhada. In Hindi, it will be akhada. Sanskrit also is akhada. A combatant, she is a fighter, the wrestler, you see. In silent, dreadful list. List is not LIST. It is where you do the wrestling. The world unknowing, obviously nobody knows that. Only three people know what is going to happen on that day. Of course, Savitri and Savitri's parents. Only three. The world, nobody else has that idea what is going to happen. For the world, she stood. That's a pity. She is taking the entire burden of the entire creation here, but nobody is aware of it. What she is bearing for us. Such stupid, ignorant fellows we are, you see. Insensitive people we are, you see. For the world she stood, no helper has she save the strength within. Obviously, strength within. There was no witness of terrestrial eyes. The gods above and nature's soul below were the spectators of that mighty strife. So the whole sentence is against this list. You can see the images, all the things. Working and knowing. No helper, she saved with strength within. There was no witness of terrestrial eyes. The gods above and nature. So the gods are seeing from above and the nature around, that physical nature which is there around. Soul below was the spectators of that mighty. Means neither the gods can help her nor nature around here. Now, there is a little pity. The gods above and nature's soul below. This line. So what a beautiful line. Gods are standing above. You see, actually, when the mother is to give darshan from the balcony, she says that I see all you children below here, but there are gods are also crowding in the sky for my darshan. In the sky, she says, all the gods are meeting there and seeing them around. You see. She comes specifically at the time of her darshan, when she comes on the balcony or the terrace, the crowd around. You see. The gods above and nature's soul below. The pity is the revised edition of Savitri, I think your edition. The gods above and nature, soul below. Yours is nature, soul below, no? What do you got in the text? What do you got in the text? Nature, soul below. S-O-L-E. Here also, what a pity. What a pity. What a pity, you see. That is what these revised edition people have done, you see. It is actually nature, not in the revised edition, it is nature. And S-O-U-L is S-O-L-E. Actually, the real text is this one. The 1950 text is this one. What we are here. Nature's, and it is so beautiful. It is so beautiful. Nature's soul below. Obviously, it is nature's soul which is seeing the whole spectacle of it. So powerful, so occultly charged, so occultly dense. Nature's soul, very dilute, very. I don't know how they got it here, but there is no reference is given, no information is given, no details are given. How they have changed this phrase to that phrase.
The birth centenary also has SOUL. Not
It's nowhere there. No information is there. So I will dismiss that the phrase there. Nature, soul is a wrong phrase there. See. So your thing also obviously because it was based on this text. Yeah, it was based on this text. You see. Now people say very cleverly, look, this is might be a dictated line, and Nirod Baran, who was taking the dictation, he made a mistake for writing uh, SOLE as SOUL, and so on and so forth. You see, nature's soul. He has mixed up this S and this S. See, that is the kind of argument they use. But see, the author chart is there, the gods above and nature's soul below. The gods above and nature's soul below. Perfect iambic line. The gods, first iamb, above, second iamb, and nature, second, soul below. I will even put this thing as a spondy. Nature's soul below. And third, below. Fifth, I am below. You see, what a beautiful line, what a powerful line this one is. The gods above and nature's soul below. Wow, the spectators of that mighty strife. Mighty strife, well, it is more than a strife, it is a combat, do or die battle, or the gladiators, if you like to say, you see, in the dreadful list, you see. Around her was the austere sky. Now he is giving the description of the nature that around, you see. Around her was the austere sky pointing hill, austere, bare, great tapasya is being done by those mountains. Those mountains are doing tapasya for what? To bring the spiritual richness to the place where great things can happen. Great thing is going to happen in this place. Satyavan is going to die. Savitri is going to win the victory. And for that victory, all those peaks are doing tapasya through ages and ages and ages. Austere, sky pointing hills. They want to reach the heaven. And that is the tapasya. The silent matter is performing there. Nature is performing that tapasya there. Yoga. Around her. So it is, she is, although there was no witness terrace. Still, there was a kind of a preparation of this thing here around that thing. Around her was an austere, sky pointing hill. Yeah, heaven was looking, climbing up. And green, murmurous, broad, deep-thoughted wound, muttered incessantly their muffled spell. They're talking all the nature is now become alive to the moment, to the event which is going to happen here. Very quickly it is going to happen there, you see. Around her was the austere sky pointing hill and a green, murmurous, broad, deep thoughted wood, muttered incessantly, the muffled. See the variation in the rhythm, the gods above and nature's soul below, and a green, murmurs, broad, deep-thoughted who is kind of spreading around here. See, that thing which is dense is kind of opening out also. The rhythm brings those effects also through the sound. You see, muttered incessantly, the muffled spell, muffled because of the circumstances. A dense, magnificent, colored, self-wrapped life, colored, self-wrapped, is covered by itself, draped in the leaves, vivid, emerald, monotone, the forest, the trees, the mountains. This is the description of nature that around. Because he says, no, who are the spectators? Nature of that thing. So this is the description of nature now. How nature is watching there. And sacred checkers, sunbeams, and black flowers. Immured her destiny is secluded scene. They are protecting that particular place. And I told you earlier, the death has to take place when there is absolutely nobody around, only nature and God above. Nobody, no human interference at all. The mental man will spoil the game. If it happens in the forest hermitage, then all the people start crowding around here, and the occult work which Savitri has to do, that work will not be got done. Therefore, it has to happen in a lonely forest where there is absolutely no human being around anywhere. Absolutely none around here is seen. Therefore, it is happening there. That is a destined meeting place. Destined. It has to happen that way alone. And we are saying that destined meeting place. What do you see there? A huge rock in the mountains there. And as if on the rock carved the figure of a matted hair hermit who has blue throat on the rock. So that place is guarded by him, by Shiva himself, who has drunk the entire poison of the creation. It is he who is guarding the destined meeting place. It is there Savitri has to meet Dex Yamanashi. Nilakanta, he is there, that rock. See, very clear, very beautiful description and very well linked up, you see. A dense, magnificent, colored, self-wrapped life, draped in the leaves of vivid emerald monotone, and set with checkers, sunbeams, and bright flowers, immured destiny, secluded, immured, keeping protected from them. There had she grown to the stature of a spirit. There she had grown to the stature of a spirit in that hermitage, in that beautiful place. She had grown to the stature. It is here in this forest she has done the yoga tapasya. Savitri has done the yoga tapasya in this place and acquired the power, the strength within. It is that strength she has acquired here. There has she grown to the stature of a spirit. She was told, remember, Savitri, why you have taken the human birth. You have come here to conquer fate and time, vanquish death. You are taken for that purpose. She was told to conquer, and she set on the path of yoga. She does that yoga. She gathers the divine force in her soul. She houses the divine Durga in her soul, and it is that Durga who will come and fight now against the enemy in the forest here. There, so she had grown to the stature of her. So it is that divine Durga now which is seated in her soul. The genius of titanic silence is sleeping her soul in its wide loneliness, has shown to her herself bare reality. Yes, Savitri, this is what you are. Absolutely true, Savitri is here. And mated her with her environment. See, now the description is kind of closing down on this thing, you see. There has she grown to the stature of a spirit, the genius of tightening silence is leaving the soul in its wide loneliness, had shown to her herself bare reality, absolutely. True Savitri, the blazing Agni, fire which is there in Savitri, it is that which is shown to her. That is what Savitri you are. And mated her. She is now ready to meet the circumstances, environment. His solitude greatened her human hours. The quietness which is there all around the forest. He has described the whole nature and all that thing. The quietness which is there, it is that quietness greatened her human hours. She is gathering succor from the forest now. With a background of the eternal and unique solitude, with a background eternal and unique. It is that solitude Savitri is gathering in her soul also. He forced to spare direct necessity, reduced the heavy framework of man's dream and his overburdening mass of outward needs to a first a thin strip of simple animal want. That is how it began. Animal want, and a mighty wideness to the primitive earth, and a brooding multitude of patient trees, and a musing sapphire leisure of the sky, and a solemn weight of the slowly passing month, solemn weight of the slowly passing month, had left her deep room for thought and God. So that is the nature which is there around her, souls of nature. For what? Thought and God. Had left her deep room for thought and God. That is all she had now seen. There was her drama's radiant prologue lived. So this is the prologue. All that thing is already written up there. The whole picture is there. The drama is already kind of inscripted there, the transcendent. So she is living that. There was a drama's radiant prologue lived. That is the karaoke of the gods. She has to carry on. A spot for the eternal straight on a spot for the eternal straight on earth, set in the colossal yearning of the world, and washed by the aspiration of the pain, appear through an aureate opening in time. A golden opening has come out in time, and it is seeing the future now here. Appear through an aureate opening in time, where stillness listening to the unspoken word, stillness listening to the unspoken word, and the hours forgot to pass towards grief and change. It is a moment of eternity, as you. Here, with the suddenness divine advents have, suddenness to the divine advents have, repeated a marvel of the first descent, changing to rapture the dull earthly round. Love came to her, hiding the shadow, death. Love came to her, hiding the shadow, death. It is not that death is accompanying love. It is love who is hiding the shadow. He is coming with the shadow purposefully. He is having the shadow with a purpose behind him. And he is going to meet her. Love, of course, he stands for Satyavan in the story, in the sense of the story. Well might he find in her his perfect shrine. Because he is God of love, he has to have a shrine. And who is the shrine? Savitri herself is the perfect shrine for him to dwell in. For that God of love, Savitri is the perfect shrine to dwell in. A spot for the eternal strayed on earth, set in the colossal yearning of the world, and washed by the aspiration of the pain, appear to an austere opening in time, where stillness listening to the unspoken word, and the hours forgot to pass towards grief and change. I think we'll read this sentence together, all of us. Okay? Sava? Yeah, start. A spot for the eternal straight on earth, set in the cloistral yearning of the world, and washed by the aspiration of the peace, appear to an aureate opening in time, where stillness listening faint unspoken word, and the hours forgot to pass towards grief and change. What language, what beauty, what sentence. See?
328.
Okay. Well, might he find in her his perfect shrine.
He, Satyavan,
Obviously, his love,
love.
God of love. He is the God of love, and for the God of love, the shrine is Savitri herself.
He, love.
He is God of love,
God of love. God of love.
Satyavan.
Yes,
Obviously. I mean, if you want to go by the story, then this love is Satyavan, and her is Savitri. Savitri is becoming a shrine for the God of love to come and dwell. Well, this is what we have got here. Savitri has taken a mortal birth, but it is a perfect shrine for the God of love to come and dwell in it. But in the book of Love, it is the other way around. In the book of love, it is the other way around. You see.